What if your brand could do more than just exist? What if it could dominate its market, build lasting trust, and create an unshakable presence in your industry? What happens when branding becomes the foundation of not just marketing, but business growth itself? In today's show, Sabaina Malik, founder of M Industries, is the powerhouse behind some of the most compelling brand transformations in our business of real estate today. With a career spanning global giants like Apple and L'Oreal, Sabaina brings big brand strategies to small and medium-sized businesses, ensuring they stand out in even the most competitive markets. Her expertise helped shape our very own Broker's Playbook into a recognizable and trusted brand. And today, she's here to share how strategic branding, storytelling, and market positioning can elevate real estate professionals and business leaders alike. Whether you're looking to build a brand that attracts, converts, and lasts, or you want to understand how branding drives real revenue, this is the episode you don't want to miss. Let's dive into the blueprint of brand success with Sabaina Malik. Welcome back to another episode of Broker's Playbook. Today we have some really good stuff lined up. I'm here with a good friend, Sabaina Malik, and I'm going to get into everything branding and everything personal brand. Sabaina, welcome to Broker's Playbook.
Thank you, Simeon.
You have a little something to do with Broker's Playbook, and we'll talk about it. Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. I've known you for years. We haven't been able to do just this since we've started working together. I don't know how, but I am extremely happy to have you here today to share both the growth and strategy used for your own company, but more importantly, I think our audience is going through a market and is going through a technology revolution with AI, and I want somebody who I respect very much in the marketing space, which is M Industries and you, to really get into the deep end of the pool and talk about some of the realities that are shaping it, some of the projects that you worked on that were mega successful, and really get into that from bolts to nuts, basically, where we need to be thinking marketing is in 2025. Sabaina, let's get started a little bit with just you specifically before M Industries. What inspired you to get into marketing in the first place? Why marketing?
Thank you, number one, for inviting me. The reason why we haven't done this is I don't really do podcasts or anything like that. You know me. I prefer to be behind the scenes and just share our creativity. But Broker's Playbook is very close to my heart, and we built it together is how I feel. So yes, I wanted to be here. So thank you for having me. I didn't plan to be in marketing. That's not what happened, or that's not what I planned. I went to University of Waterloo to become an engineer initially, imagine. So bad choice. And very quickly after I got there.
Your family may have something to do with it.
Yeah, totally. So, it was important to get into the best school and be able to get into the best program. To me as well, I'm very ambitious. So once I got there, I thought, what am I doing? This is not going to work. So I experimented with what I liked and what I loved and all of that. And kudos to my parents for allowing it. And I switched to business and psychology. Psychology is a very interesting phenomenon. There's not enough that you can read and understand about human beings and our behavior and why we do certain things and why we don't do certain things, why some people are wildly successful and why others are not, why some people are really happy in relationships and why some people are not. So it really intrigued me, and then combined that with business, that worked for me. So I thought, oh, I'll just be like a psychotherapist or something and I'll get my PhD. No, I didn't do that. I realized quickly that that's also not how I wanted to spend my life. So marketing came from my love of business. So my first part-time job ever was with a fashion brand, and I loved it. And of course, I was number one. I was the number one salesperson because I'm hard on myself. I work hard, and very quickly,
And you're actually passionate about fashion
I'm
specifically.
passionate about fashion. I love fashion. We're going to talk a lot about the inspiration of the work that we do and how it ties in with fashion. So I love fashion, and I was good at it. And I was offered a position, a full-time position, corporate position very quickly, and I was still in school. And of course, I like to challenge myself. So I thought, I'm going to do both. So did both, understood, what business is, what business strategy is, what people are gravitated towards, what they're not gravitated towards, and why. So I have this curiosity, which I think really helps me with the work, because I don't take it for granted that, oh, I've done this for 10 years. I know what the answer is. No, it's far more exciting to be curious and approach it with, let's see, let there be a discovery. So it started like that. So my first job ever was with Gap, when Gap was really hot and happening in the 1997 or 8. And then from then on.
Yeah, there wasn't anyone not wearing the Gap sweater.
Correct. Remember the commercials? They had the most brilliant marketing. And then Old Navy.
The first puffy jackets.
The first puffy jackets, low-rise jeans, boot-cut jeans, the denim walls at the Gap stores. No one could do. Gap was iconic. And it only kind of lost its market position since the departure of Mickey Drexler, who was an extreme visionary. And really made Gap Inc., not just Gap, so Old Navy, Banana Republic, what it was at the height of its success. And after that, his predecessors could just never keep it at that level. And that's actually a great lesson in branding and marketing. So it's really hard to get to the top, but it's even harder to stay there.
Oh, for sure.
Right? And this is something that challenges us all the time. But we'll get to that. So that's where I found my love for brand marketing, commercials, advertising, understanding what it takes to connect people and their emotions to a product or a message.
And I think that's where brand also comes in. It's what you said. It's easy to be rocky, to be hungry, to get, to knock out the champ and become the champ. But knowing what to do with the spoils and how to behave,
very
and
difficult.
how to position yourself on a go-forward position is very difficult.
It's very difficult.
And brand makes it, if you choose the right strategy, it makes it very easy to navigate.
Yeah.
And you can grow exponentially more as a result of it.
And I think knowing the right people and being around the right people is so important once you've reached the top and you've reached that height with your brand. If you don't have the right people advising you, it's not going to work, because I don't think that one person, including myself, can do it. I can't do what I do without my team. You can't do what you do and with your consultants and, people that you lean on. So marketing branding is the same. It takes a lot. It takes a lot of tweaking, and it takes a lot of maintaining to stay there.
And of course, it takes so much insight and interpreting that insight to make it compliant with one's brand.
Exactly.
To make it create traction.
Yeah.
And every business is unique.
Every business is unique. And, I always say to clients, you should be saying no more often than you're saying yes when it comes to your brand. Because if you're saying yes, 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 yes to everything, you're diluting your brand. Yeah. Because the job is to remain special and to stand out. It's not to be like everybody else and do what everybody else is doing.
How, given that exact comment, do you think that's something that you picked up from the likes of L'Oreal or Apple, for that matter? What did you learn with your tenure with those companies that you applied?
Yeah. That's
every
a great
industry?
question. So I often reflect on my experience with L'Oreal. I was very young when they recruited me. I still don't know why they hired me because I had no experience in the cosmetic world. So a recruiter from L'Oreal called me one day, and I swear I was like 22 years old. And somehow they knew of whatever I had done at Gap. And I thought, oh my God, L'Oreal, what would I do there? I don't even wear a lot of makeup. So I went to the interview only because I was curious, and then I was offered a great position that I couldn't turn down. So um, it was baptism by fire. Because I didn't know anything
Right.
about that industry. It's a French company. It's based in Paris and then headquarters in New York. And very exciting, very, very challenging. I worked with some of the smartest people that I've ever met. I imagine I'm 23 and my boss is the senior executive vice president of L'Oreal Global. Imagine. Okay.
Crazy, intimidating.
It's crazy. And because like I didn't know that I was supposed to be intimidated of her, I wasn't. So I just learned from her and it was incredible. So L'Oreal is a very interesting company. Number one, you know that it's the owner of L'Oreal is one of the richest entrepreneurs in the world, right? Like the heiress who inherited L'Oreal. She's the richest woman in the world and they're extremely profitable. So like, let's just like make sure that people know that. Very profitable company, always has been. L'Oreal grows by acquisition. This is very interesting. So what they do is they're a global giant and they are extremely innovative with their formulations and their scientific breakthroughs when it comes to skincare, hair care, fragrance, everything. Okay. So if you're looking for the best eye cream to get rid of your, circles under your eyes, there is a brand under the L'Oreal umbrella that has championed that. Okay. Or anything that you're looking for, they've got. So L'Oreal most often now grows through acquisition. So let's say I'm an entrepreneur in California and I decide that I'm going to find a way to make a sunscreen that's going to be very effective, but it's also going to be good. It's also going to be green. It's also going to be natural. It's nearly impossible to accomplish for sunscreen. So let's say I create that and now like my company's worth, I don't know, $500,000. L'Oreal finds out that this new sunscreen is like changing the world. It's changing the market. They come in and they're like, here's $10 million. We're going to take your brand. And, the entrepreneur is very happy because they never imagined that. And now they can go on to doing more. And L'Oreal brings in this product and this brand. And then they go to their labs and say, here you go, make it even better. They make it even better. They reduce the price point usually because they're able to.
So they act like a venture capitalist.
Exactly.
For their own industry.
Exactly.
And grow within it by acquisition.
Exactly. So what I observed, I was hired to spearhead Kiehl's, which is a luxury skincare brand. And then I did other things and worked in the luxury division mainly. Traveled the world, learned from these very smart people. So I learned that you can take an organically created, beautiful brand. Kiehl's was born in New York City in 1851 in a pharmacy.
Kiehl's is the department, the black and white.
Yes.
Kiehl's, yes.
That's right.
That's L'Oreal.
Since 1851. Yes, yeah. L'Oreal owns it since 2000. And so they bought Kiehl's. They kept its integrity. They kept the apothecary pharmacy formulations. They still wear lab coats even today because originally it was a pharmacy.
Because that's the brand.
Because that's the brand. So here's the lesson. So you can take what's been created and you can make it better and better and better without losing the essence of the brand. Okay. And L'Oreal does this like a champion. So I lived this. I had the restrictions. So I would say, well, let's run a PR campaign. And they're like, no, Kiehl's is not about paid marketing. We don't do paid marketing. It's all organic. It's word of mouth. It's relationships. And I'm thinking, how is this business ever going to grow? Great challenge, right? It turned me into an entrepreneur. I had the best stores, Queen Street, Yonge Street, like right downtown, counters in Holt Renfrew. But if nobody knows what the brand is...
Queen and Peter, it used
Queen
to be.
and Peter, yes. 407 Queen Street West. That's where it was born.
Across the Black Bull Tavern.
That's
Yes.
right.
Yeah, yeah.
Were you drinking there? Probably.
No, I actually worked down the street and I used to buy shaving cream. My first expensive shaving cream was from
So
Kiehl's.
Kiehl's, yeah, at the front
Yes.
men's
Yeah.
section. Okay, well that was my my store, one of them, and yeah, what a small world. So you learn working in these global giants and how they acquire these beautiful brands and they don't destroy them and they don't take over and their ego doesn't take over and say, no, let's rebrand, let's change everything. We're L'Oreal. This is the mistake that a lot of smaller companies make, a lot of real estate companies make. They think that, oh, I know more. Let me just like change it.
As opposed to what the consumer is actually looking for.
Exactly. So yes, L'Oreal, my experience with luxury brands like, Kiehl's, Lancôme, Shumora, I learned a lot on how to, take a brand that has reached its maximum potential. It can't go any further than that, which is what the Kiehl's would be on its own. L'Oreal comes in and says, okay, let us give you our magic. And then what's possible and the global expansion and reaching global audiences, it's amazing.
And then how did you transition from this type of a work environment and mentality, I suppose, into setting up Apple stores?
Yeah, I don't even know how I did that myself. It was
Because it was a new concept, the Genius Bar and all those things. Those are all
yeah. Apple was new to
breakthroughs.
Canada.
Yeah.
Apple retail was new to Canada. Yeah, so I was very happy at L'Oreal. I loved it. It was me. It's me. It's fashion. It's cosmetics, celebrities, events, travel. It was fantastic. Then I had a baby. And your life changes
Does it
when you have a baby. And I realized I can't do what I used to do. I can't fly to New York in the morning and come home at night and the next day go to Paris and be gone for 4 days. Like, I have a child. So it was very hard to kind of like accept, but I did. Like, you're a mother first. So I thought, okay, well, let me see what I need to do for my career next, or do I maybe move into a different role because I can't do this like this anymore. So somehow immediately after I was thinking this, a recruiter called me and said, we want you to meet the best brand in the world. And I thought, I work for the best brand in the world. What are you talking about?
Right.
Right? Because I never imagined a technology company trying to recruit me. Like, why?
as a brand,
As a brand.
not as technology, not as
Yeah.
sales.
I would never have thought. So the recruiter said, Sabaina, trust me, you want to take this meeting. And I said, no, you're going to have to tell me who it is before I will take this meeting. And she's like, oh my God. And she knew me and she knew that I was a little bit arrogant because young and arrogant and like a little bit like I can choose whatever I want to do. So she says, so the country manager for Apple wants to meet you. And I was like, I was laughing. I said, do they have the right resume? Like, what are they looking at? And she's like, no, they think very differently. It's not about tech. The role is not about tech. It's about culture. It's about brand.
People.
It's about people. And you are excellent at that. And I was like, no, thanks. I'm not interested. I let it go. She called me again and she said, I really feel you need to take this meeting, because she knew me. And I said, I really don't think it's the right fit. Anyways, back and forth, I took the meeting. So meet with them, very inspiring. Steve Jobs was still, at the helm. So, when you hear about their plans and you hear about what's happening, iPhone had just changed the world, right? And innovation runs in my veins, and I'm attracted to that. So I thought, oh my God, what? I'm gonna have to go to the Apple store.
Maybe a little bit of a romantic notion. When iPhone came out, the world was hard on BBM and
my God.
BlackBerry.
Totally.
So this was a very, it was.
The resistance in Canada?
But like how people felt about brands.
It divided us.
It divided
us.
Like there was always a Mac PC rivalry
Yeah.
since they were all born.
I'm ashamed to tell you this. I'm ashamed to admit this, but I kept my BlackBerry for a year after I was working for Apple. I had two phones. I had a BlackBerry and I had an iPhone.
So I'm telling you, like, I swore, I was like, there is no possible way that this phone with no keyboard.
I know.
And like, it's just so it felt so naked
And slippery.
and weird.
Yeah.
And like, I'm in business.
Yeah.
But here comes this company recruiting from cosmetics.
Genius. They're genius.
This is why they still do it now.
Listen,
like, they're unbelievable.
look at Apple today. Okay. Look at Apple today. If a company can champion AI and lay off thousands of employees, it's Apple. They have not done that. Why do you think they have not done that? Because they understand that culture and people are your top commodity and your top asset. No organization in my experience that I have, and I've been to, a lot of boards meetings and a lot of different things. I've never met a company that sticks to its culture and actually executes on what they promise.
And their employees love them.
Yeah.
They take care of them.
I love Apple. People that I recruited like 10 years ago are still working in those jobs, have been promoted, have been to Cupertino. Like, I only left Apple because, I had done all the things that I possibly could do in Canada. And then I had this like bug in me to have my own company. It's the best place to work.
What did you take from Apple? Or I should say, what did you take? What did Apple give you?
Yeah, a lot.
Tell me about it. So what are some of those principles that you implemented directly into M?
Apple is a place like no other, and I'll tell you what happens when you join Apple. They ask you to kind of leave everything that you know behind, and at the time you don't understand that. And because they recruit the most talented, the most successful, smartest people in the world, it's really hard to do that, right? So I remember when I was hired. When they made the offer and I declined because I was still like, I'm not going to work for a tech company. You want me to wear a blue t-shirt and go to your stores? What? No, I wear Prada every day, So it was a big adjustment for me. So I declined the employment offer twice, and they finally said, you got to come to your senses. Like, you don't understand what's on the table.
Like, we're good.
Like, we're good and we love you. You need to come on board. Like, this is how they spoke to me for me to be like, okay, fine. Okay.
There's got to be something here.
There's got to be something here. But I was torn because I loved L'Oreal so much, right? There was a fit there. Anyways, I get to Apple and they're like, okay, so we want you to unlearn everything that you know so far. And I'm like, yeah, okay. You hired me because you want my brain, you want my capacity. But truly, it's kind of like this unbecoming and undoing that happens. It's by design. And then you learn a new way of being, which is the Apple culture, which is all about people, truly. And it's all about the experience, and it's all about the customer.
Well, I can attest to a few things, and I'm going to bring us into when we met and I brought you in to our office where we had a discovery call. And it was, you were coming for lunch.
I was going to buy a condo.
You were actually, when you first reached out, you were actually looking for client advice.
Right.
And we had just founded, maybe we were a year into it on its very first iteration, Broker's Playbook, the actual podcast, before the training, before all the things. And we talked about that. And this is where I believe different, like, people are different. Like, the way I see things are simply not the way you see things, and vice versa. And we can say that about everybody in this room, our support, our videographer. Yeah. Everybody looks at the world different because of different experiences. And when we formed the podcast initially, it was a play on words, Broker's Playbook, like making a plan, like people are going to leave with a plan. And that all sounded good, but you looked at it very differently.
I never connected with that vision that was there. And that's a good thing. When that happens, I know that great things are going to happen.
So tell me how you saw things. So like I have my notes here. You played a pivotal role in branding Broker's Playbook. Give us give me your thoughts of where did you start?
Okay.
So when you said your plan sounds very ambitious, but like your brand does not look like that.
Yeah.
You said that to us. What was going through your mind? What were you seeing? How was the brand at the time so limited as opposed to?
Yeah. So I'm going to tell you a quick story, and then that relates to this, because I want you to know like my train of thought, where it comes from. So I have a lot of working with big ad agency experience, New York, Toronto, France, like working with all these big brands. And the gap that I always found with the big agency model and the client was that the big agencies work really hard to keep their creative people away from the client. Okay. So you're not meeting a Sabaina. You're meeting like an account executive who's assigned to your account, who's like, oh, let me gather all the intel and all the let's then send you an RFP that once you approve that, then we get to work. It's a very formal industrial age process, detached. Okay. I opened M Industries because I saw that there was a need for a more involved customer centric marketing agency. Okay. So I go to the meeting, or like for us, it wasn't even supposed to be a meeting about your brand. It became that very quickly. I saw a tremendous opportunity. I met you and I met Bobby, who I have tremendous respect for both of you. And I just knew that there were so many things that could be created with Broker's Playbook that no one could see yet. The reason why we use the infinity symbol in your branding is because I believe that about Broker's Playbook. I think there's a lot more to come. And in the 2 years that we've been working together on Broker's Playbook, three specifically.
Yeah.
Look at how far Broker's Playbook has come, and all the things that you've created and all the deals that you've signed and all the new programming and shifts and success, right? So I met you specifically and I thought, once I brand this company, Simeon's going to go so much bigger with this.
Because we're bananas with it. We took
You're bananas with it. I saw that. I felt that. And, you know, we place a lot of emphasis in the world on thinking and knowing, and not enough emphasis on feeling. You have to know, but you also have to feel. And then you have to fuel that feeling with the passion that, you know, is Broker's Playbook. So I saw a massive opportunity. I also saw that you were one of the few people in real estate who believe in collaboration, which told me that you were going to grow exponentially no matter what, because that is what happens. I just told you the story of L'Oreal. That's collaboration in that world. Okay. Apple, you know, Apple stores, the way that they operate today at Apple, like that whole thing, is designed by customers.
No, but also Apple is one of the biggest patent acquisition companies on the planet.
On the planet.
They do exactly what L'Oreal does.
They do the same thing, but understand that their popularity and the fact that people want to hang out in their stores and go to their events and buy their product, love the product or hate the product, doesn't matter.
Because they love the customer.
They love the customer. They actually did this study with 55,000 people and said, tell us what you want the store experience, the in-store and online experience to be for Apple. And not only did they do a study, they then created that. They listened, okay? That's collaboration. You believe in that. I saw that. I knew that you were going to be super successful with Broker's Playbook simply based on the infinite possibilities that were there. Like I could see them all around you, right? And it requires that intuition, like when we connect, to understand what's possible. And then our job is to create a brand that delivers that.
Well, not knowing, because I had never worked with a brand strategist before, because it was more than just graphic design.
Yes,
it was how it's going to be used. What agenda? What was our agenda in the growth, and how can we design to make that feeling pass off to our strategic partners or our clients or whoever we're working with. And I think that's the difference in what you were saying. Like, it's different to work with an account executive who does a discovery checklist and reports back to the creative versus an entrepreneurial mind and creative sitting in front of you, understanding your goals and your psychology.
And thinking and feeling and dreaming bigger than what currently is, right? Design is a tool. It's a growth tool. You know, it's very exciting to create a brand and it, like, we get a lot of applause and everyone loves it. That's not the exciting part for me. The exciting part for me is 3 years down the road, 2 years down the road, when
see how it was used
and all the new doors that opened up and how we enriched your brand, and now you're enriching your customers' lives, your industry, your people.
I love that. And what I also want to highlight is in real estate specifically, a lot of us have more than one vertical. I actually interviewed Tom Story less than 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, Tom's a great guy.
He's a great guy.
Yeah.
But one of his major takeaways that he wanted people to walk away with, that you cannot have a one-trick pony.
No,
You
you
need
can't.
at least 4 verticals to support a viable, stable business.
Absolutely.
In Broker's Playbook, which has now become the Playbook Group, we're a global conglomerate now that's bought up companies
Yeah.
in Canada, North America, and we do have global ambitions for specifically the Middle East and Asia. We've had to discover different brands that you also helped set up. So it started with Broker's Playbook as a B2B industry brand, which evolved to Investors Playbook,
Right.
being a consumer-facing brand. And that's evolved now to Playbook, an entire
Yes.
ecosystem of companies that are all relatable, where, for example, if you look at this card right here, it doesn't even say Playbook anymore, because this, just like Apple doesn't say Apple or
No,
Mac,
it doesn't need to.
it doesn't need to. So what we're able to take what we believe is a globally recognized, this will be a globally recognized
Absolutely.
brand. I know it.
Absolutely.
But taking it and using it the right way, and teaching us as a startup at the time how to use our brand. Like, do not do this, do not do that. This is your brand guideline. This is your Bible. That's it.
You should be saying no a lot more than
And
you
that's what
should be
you
saying
taught us.
yes. Yes.
So
Yeah.
tell me the importance of, or maybe give me some examples of brands you've worked with in real estate. Like, I know Dan Cooper is probably one of my favorite campaigns you've ever created.
Mine too.
Scott Benson.
Brilliant.
Playful.
Yes.
Like, if I was a mother and father of 2 kids in the suburbs of Toronto, why would I call anyone else rather than a serious but playful, consistent, successful brand? Tell me about how you create real estate brands, and how, because you've created multiple brands in the same markets.
Yes.
Without hurting the integrity of the other brands.
Big challenge. Yes.
Talk to me about that.
So real estate is very interesting, right? I love the real estate business because I think it's so fun, and it's all about people, and you can do so much. So yes, Dan Cooper Group was my introduction to real estate. And the reason why it was such a knockout success is Dan gave me carte blanche. He said, do whatever you want. Anything I presented to him, he said, yes, do it the way you see fit. Okay. And it's not about like me knowing what to do. It's about when you hire someone to do something, you should let them do it. Right. So the greatest tragedy in the work world is that people hire extremely smart, talented individuals, and then they put handcuffs on their creativity. And therefore, nothing can really happen or change. Yeah. So when we come in, like, you cannot put handcuffs on me. I'm just going to say, no, I don't want the project. Right. So real estate agents, because they're the CEOs of these companies are salespeople first and CEO second, they understand usually that, okay, I need to get out of her way and let her create, right? And so when we're able to create from that place of, okay, do whatever it takes, this is the goal and this is the result that we're going for, it works. So Dan Cooper, yeah, I mean, we had so much fun doing that project because Dan brought the right energy to the table as well. And he did not dilute the new value proposition, the new brand identity at all. He went 100% with what we recommended. And, you know, he had the results. Scott Benson, same thing. He said to me, whatever you want, whatever you think. And it's hard to do and to, you know, relinquish control a little bit, but the success, you know, follows. So I like real estate agents and real estate companies because they're not risk averse. They're willing to take the risk because they're used to it.
That's right.
You're doing listing presentations till midnight at people's homes with no guarantee that you're getting the listing.
That's right.
So risk is, you know, their middle name. So it's a lot of fun. So I enjoy that passion and that go with the flow energy that real estate companies afford us, because that works really well with creative energy.
Okay, so let's take this down a different path. It's 2025. The market is not forgiving. The market is actually both grueling and punishing right now.
Mhm.
What types of strategies are you looking at to help your clients succeed in creating a message of stability and trust, perhaps?
Yeah,
What are you doing right now?
that's a great question. So, okay, 2023, when we go forward a little bit more, will be a year that we'll look back at and say, "Oh, that's when the world really changed one more time because of the introduction of AI." This happened in 2007 when Steve Jobs launched the iPhone, okay? And he went directly to consumer, changed the world. Same thing with AI, direct to consumer. Everyone has access to it. So what happens when great innovations like this happen in the world? iPhone, think about it. Nothing like Instagram, Facebook, YouTube existed before the introduction of iPhone to the world. The world that we live in, everything that we do today is possible because of the iPhone. It was the first phone, right? Of its kind that introduced that level of
That
innovation.
level of
That
innovation,
level of
that
innovation,
app.
the app that you could have the whole world in your hand, you know. And I was there. Like I know what that's like and what it does and how people adapt or not adapt. AI, same thing, right? So what happens as a result of this is now individuals are ahead of the institution. Okay. Because my phone gives me access to everything. I can download whatever. And usually it takes real estate companies, builders, government institutions, educational, commercial institutions a long time to get there. Individuals can get there faster. The same is true for your clients and our clients. They are the most informed. So they have access to so much that market, yes, it's a big factor, but there's a big need to change and evolve as a result of all of this innovation. So how we're helping our customers, my strategy now, right now, and always is focus on the customer, right? So last year we advised a lot of our clients not to cut back on their marketing, not to cut back on their events or whatever they do with their community and everything that they've been doing for 20 years, 25 years, because when you leave, you're out of sight, you're out of mind, right? So there are ways to cut costs and do things differently, but maintain your brand's integrity, maintain your marketing integrity. So I would say some things that real estate agents can do to get through this market is really invest in the company in terms of what can we do without having to incur exponential new costs. Use AI intelligently to create content, right? You can do that. It's much easier if you have a foundation for your brand because, data in is data
We've been
out.
talking about this so much. It's a game changer for content creation
Yes,
and repurposing, and
absolutely.
it's
So,
huge.
so I think that you have to think about, okay, so if we're feeling this way, how is our customer feeling? And how do we bridge that gap of if they're not talking to us? Right? Because your goal is to be talking to your customer. So in real estate, I think it's really time to focus beyond the transaction. And 2024 taught us that, right?
No doubt.
Big time, like with pain. And if you haven't learned that yet, that it's all about the relationship, it's all about the culture, it's all about maintaining what you said you were going to do, regardless of the
How your clients
market.
feel versus what you tell them.
Exactly. So markets have ups and downs. It's not the end of the world.
And to double down on that message, because you affect that message so much, being tone deaf in 2024 cost
Yeah,
people their entire careers.
exactly.
Not being present to listen to their problems, to listen to the client pain,
Yeah.
and putting your needs first has literally created the biggest exodus of agents from the industry I have ever seen.
Yeah. Me too.
And it's some of them were surprising to see who left the business
Okay.
and the reasons why. And I think it's simply because they were not in touch with
Yeah.
how their clients felt.
I also think, Simeon, it's a time to give.
100%.
When things are tough, you have to go, okay, what can I give? Unfortunately, a lot of agents are not in that mindset. And it's about what can I get? So I think like the times that we're in politically, economically, from a technology standpoint, it's turning everything that we know, our culture, leadership styles, all of that on its head. And you're going to have to approach things differently.
Sabaina, I couldn't agree with you more. And I want to move into the next session, the extended session of our
Okay.
podcast, which is for the Brokers Playbook community members.
Okay.
As we wrap the regular podcast, what is your advice to the average agent that's maybe entered the business 3-4 years ago? So they saw kind of that high. They've definitely seen the low.
Yeah.
What is your advice on how to use marketing for their growth in 2025?
Great question. So I would say if you're 3, 4, 5 years in the business, it's time for you to establish a foundation for your company's brand. Without that, your marketing efforts are not going to be as effective or successful as they could be. And I'm not saying that because I own a branding company. I'm saying that because that is how the world works. So the job is to create trust, right? So every time that a potential consumer, customer, whoever interacts with your business, your marketing, your messaging, or your brand, they should feel a sense of trust. And this, I think, is where a lot of real estate agents fail. They don't think enough about how they're creating trust.
That feeling of that they can count on you.
Yeah, and that I will take care of you. I will do what I said I was going to do. I will deliver, because also, like, I'm sorry to say, there are a lot of bad real estate agents in the GTA.
Sure there is.
And so, the consumer is very well informed. Remember, their phone gives them everything. And
Their expectations are higher than ever.
the individual is ahead of the institution, okay, and will be. So the job is to establish that trust, demonstrate that you're trustworthy, start there, invest in understanding what your company's brand should be, what should it reflect. If you spend 2025 figuring that out, that's okay. Do that because it's going to pay dividends for the rest of your career.
That's amazing. I want to thank everybody for watching. Sabaina, if anybody above and beyond, you can always reach Sabaina via Brokers Playbook. But if somebody wants to reach out to you direct, what's your Instagram? Where do you live? How do people reach you?
So you can reach me on Instagram at Sabaina Malik, my name, or our company website, which is uandm.co.
Amazing. Thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate you.
Pleasure.